hadn't seen you in a while. We've had we've had a lot going on, but also the service around here has not been real good because they've been doing different things with the light and power. I've seen them out, and I don't really know what's caused it, but for whatever reason, the internet service on my phone has not done well at all, and that's why I also want to apologize for that last video concerning my goat, because it was horrible the way it kept kind of going in and out. I thought for a while there it may have been my editing program, but it's not. It's my internet. It's spotty, and if I'm in certain places of the house, it's really bad. So I'm trying to stay in certain places of the house. And the wind was blowing that day too, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but whatever. But anyway, I wanted to get back with, hopefully this will be just a short video, but I want to go ahead and work on another herb that I really like to keep around in my garden and stuff like that. And that would be borage. And borage will go to the municipal principals first and then go to the other. They are annuals. They like full sun. They're easy to get seed from. You got to catch them you got to be sure to get them because they'll fall and reseed themselves if you ain't careful. But if you don't want them, to reseed themselves, you need to get out there and catch them because they fall real easy and makes it a little bit more difficult to get. It's not like something that holds on to the seed. The seed falls real easy off of them. But anyway, and once again, I'm going to try to stay close to my notes so that I don't get carried away. Borage. It is good for arthritis, congestion, cough, depression. Oh, I can't even read my own writing. PMS, skin and hair loss, eczema and acne. Adrenal insufficiency. It's a good blood purifier for adrenal insufficiency, and that's one of the things I like to use it for. I haven't used it for the hair loss, which I don't have no problem really with it now. I did it one time, but I don't think I even realized it done that back then. But I'm curious about that. It increases your urine flow, which is part of what makes it a good blood purifier. Helps prevent inflammation in the lungs. It aids as a sedative. It has a sedative effect and promotes sweating. It increases milk production, which is a really good one when it comes to goats. Does in particular, whenever after they kid, if you have dairy goats of any kind, which that's what I use my Nigerian dwarfs for, is milking and soap making and so on. But borage and fennel are two that's really good to help bring on milk production even better. I've actually already started some fennel because I had fennel on my doe now since she's getting so close to having her babies, which she hasn't had yet. I think that their babies were just turning and putting pressure on her uterus is the only thing that happened with that. But I did have to separate her from Charlie because he smells it and he's getting all ruddy again. So he ain't getting no loving from his mother. Anyway, and in the garden, it's good for repelling such worms as hornworms, which is really good. That's the main reason I first started using borage, was to help keep the pests down and stuff like that until I learned more about it and so on. And I'm real interested to find out. I didn't really have hornworms that bad. Every now and then I had hornworms in my previous garden, but I haven't really had them didn't really have them. But this one, the hornworms were everywhere this year. So I'm really anxious to find out if that's going to help with the hornworm situation. It attracts pollinators. Bees love it because they got these pretty little purple flowers. I need to start doing pictures for these. I need to find pictures that I can use. But I am going to start taking pictures too. That's something I've not really done just because I never thought I would ever be doing a YouTube thing. or anything like that, and I just really didn't take pictures unless it was like a big, beautiful plant, and I took pictures of it just because of how good it did or whatever. But I'll try to start doing things like that as well. It kind of tastes like cucumber when you put it in salads. I would put the flowers in salads. And some of the younger leaves, I wouldn't use the bigger leaves. It gets fairly tall. I mean, it can get, I think mine was probably 3.5 foot tall usually, and they kind of get big, pretty good size around. They can be invasive if you're not careful, but that just depends on what you want and where you want them. As for being good for the soil, they are a good source of vitamin. Well, they are a good source of vitamin B, beta carotene, fiber, and different trace minerals, which is part of what makes it good for your garden, because the trace minerals in the soil that it's planted in, and therefore it makes it good for composting and mulching. So that's really all I've got on borage. That would be one, though, that I would encourage folks to get for their garden this coming year. And since I'm only doing one herb at a time, another one that I would strongly suggest for your actual garden, well, that's hard to do. I've got some favorites, and my favorites, my have-to-haves, is nettle and calendula. That's my have-to-haves. I say that, but then I start thinking of all these other ones that I really want to have in my garden. Fennel, chamomile. I could go on. That's the problem. See, that's why I say I need to stay close to my notes, because it's hard to decide if you can't do everything at one time or whatever. And I'm kind of bummed because I've got to get everything reestablished. We had drove by our old property the other day, happened to go help my daughter whose car had broke down, and a lot of the stuff that I really had established good, they yanked out all of my wormwood. They yanked out my raspberry bush that my mother had got me. They yanked out all my nettle, my borage, which they just made a totally different area there, which I didn't necessarily have a set place for my borage. It was in my garden, but they tore all that out. I had some raised beds over there. They've tore all those out. So that kind of makes it a stinker whenever you drive by and see that. But I will get it all reestablished here, and I'm excited to get that done. I've actually been looking on Pinterest at some landscaping ideas for this coming, well, I'll probably start working on it this winter, and I always told my husband whenever we got our new property, which is this, that I wanted to make it to where the chickens wouldn't destroy it, because I had rocks that were probably good 2-inch rocks around around the house, and them chickens would still scratch them rocks out away from the house to get up underneath them to get worms. So I'm going to try to be a little more strategic when it comes to what I plant where, because I want my chickens to be able to free range.